Warning: this program contains strong language and content that might require actual thought and critical thinking. Viewer discretion is advised. It's that time. Time to kick off your shoes, time to get grounded and reclaim your magic, and time to fly. We are the Barefoot Bangarang Tribe, and this is Tarot with an Attitude, featuring the Bangarang man himself, the Reverend Rob Lee. Here I've got Galactic Greg. Greg, where did you come up with that name?
That was divine intuition, my friend. That was just, I was sitting there. I was literally at the precipice of one of the greatest journeys of my existence. And I was looking at my Facebook page, and, you know, we update things. We update our platforms and our social media and whatnot. And I was just thinking, you know, Greg is just, that's just not me. There's something more to it than that. There's got to be something more to it. We have to dress this up a bit. And I heard my guides come through very profoundly, Rob, and they said, this journey that you're about to embark upon is galactic. And with that, it was Galactic Greg, and it's rest is history.
Done thing. You'll hear people refer to me as the Bangarang man. I have lived Bangarang. What you put out, you're going to get back. And that's one of the big parts of my show. So hey, you literally embrace that idea and you're putting it out there. I love it. I think that's fantastic. You know, Lee and Robin, help me. I'm meeting y'all for the first time here. I love it. Tell me a little bit about you guys.
Well, we have a long journey, which we'll just sum up really quickly. We met first when we were 4, and
that's long.
Yeah, and we just kind of came in and out of each other's lives, Robin and I. It was just all divinely timed, and there were certain decisions that we had to make throughout our lives. We dated on and off, and then came together for the final time in our mid-20s and decided that it was meant to be, that we let go enough to fall in love for forever. So and then the rest has been history. We grew up in the Yukon in Canada, and spent 2 years in Costa Rica, living there, Vancouver. Wow. And arrived in Alberta, Canada for the last 7 years or so. We have 3 kids, 3 beautiful souls that we get to guide through this thing called life. And
we were running an amazing dance studio here locally, and I had transitioned out of industrial work and other things into using my gifts and my talents that really came online when I gave them permission to be present. And yes, so like yourself, I always had a sensitivity and awareness that I believed we all had, until I witnessed events growing up and realized, others don't have this what I was later to learn is called empathy, or psychic intuition, and the touching and feeling and seeing one's thoughts or fears or pains. So yes, like yourself, the root cause has always been what I've been after in the healing, because I myself have undergone a major life-altering injury when I was 15, and we were lined up like little sheep when our name was called at school, and we got that booster in the arm, and my arm went paralyzed for like 2 weeks. I just thought the nurse hit a nerve. They didn't tell us about anything about reactions, and so progressively I almost wasted away, because autoimmune response from an injury like that, it was really difficult. So along with my body, my attachment to it, my ego's awareness underwent some enlightenment and rebirthing. And through those experiences, it was to become my training. And ultimately, I became the individual I needed the most when I was sick.
Okay.
I didn't exist, and now I do. And it's a blessing. So like yourself, I wouldn't go back and change a thing. I honor everything in my life because it has gotten me to this point. And
That's
through that,
great.
yes, it's brought Leigha back into my life when we let go and let the universe and our connection to God decide our path. And we were brought back into each other's lives.
Bangarang. That's one of those things that we say, you know, what you put out is what you get back. And in the show I had this morning, the live show I did, we discussed just that. I had Hillis Pugh on, and we were telling people are trying too hard. And sometimes you need to just sit back and let spirit work with you for a while. Be quiet and listen. So that's amazing. So the three of you are actually putting on a class through Ascended Masters called Activating Your DNA, Becoming Your Highest Self, Part 1, Connecting to Source. That's amazing. So now my next question would be, how did the three of you come to get together?
Well, it began with the implementation of Galactic Greg, and Leigha was an avid follower and supporter of mine, and we connected. We actually connected officially on January 6th during the Capitol riding. If you remember that, Leigha, that was our first time actually meeting through a live Zoom call, and the connection was just absolute. It was just instant. It was absolute instant. There was such a familiarity between myself, Robin, and Leigha, as if we had done this before. We were connected as brothers and sisters, and the relationship just grew and grew and grew from there. Myself, I was divinely guided to start doing some broadcasts with Robin. I was incredibly moved by his knowledge, his intuition, his incredible connection to God and spirit, and the words and the information that flowed from his throat chakra was just something that I had never heard before. And my spirit guides were telling me profoundly, like, the world needs to hear this. This is truth. The world needs to hear this. And we began a series of broadcasts, and it just grew and grew and grew. Again, we just surrendered to the process. It was very natural, Rob. It was very organic. Again, that familiarity that we had done this before. And Robin saw a future timeline in which we were practicing together, in which we had a business together, helping others, essentially using our gifts. Now, I'm an herbalist and a trained naturopath and wellness physician and practitioner. Robin has incredible skills, psychic intuition, and incredible skills with physical therapy, and just our growth and expansion alone, combining that all together to be able to essentially help humanity. Because the question presented itself very early on, Rob, how do we transition? How do we transition into the world that we're going into the world that we're creating and manifesting? How do we do this? Do we continue to look at the intel and rely on the external narratives, or do we actually go internal and begin to heal ourselves? Humanity has been fractured, it's been sliced, it's been diced, it has been wounded, bruised, broken, beaten, and scarred. There are individuals out there that need help, and that need help mostly internally. This is all about spiritual evolution, the evolution of the soul. And myself and Robin and Leigha are dedicated to that. Our sole purpose is to help you attain your soul purpose, to essentially.
And that's what I was going to ask. You know, you talk about activating your DNA and becoming your highest self, part 1. I think that's amazing. So my first question was going to be, what does that mean to me? Why do I need to say, okay, you know what? With me realizing some different things and going on and coming into enlightenment, things like that. but help me and my viewers understand what this is about.
Yes. I'd like to speak on that. We have all heard of the base 60 system, and when you divide that, it's into 12s. And the best way we have in mathematics and physics and everything to divide a sphere is to divide it up into those 30 degree I guess pie slices, right?
Okay.
So we also our lineal time, we measure it in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
So go figure, right? And
Right.
that circle includes these 12. And these times of day, these energies that are available to us, all have their own personalities and all have their own zodiac, all have their own attitudes, their own, I guess, positives or negatives, femininity or masculinity, elements, whatever we want to call it. And we have all heard of the 12 strands of DNA, and that we're operating very downgraded in our abilities. And we've all been taught about the twin serpents, the Hermetic principles, and merging the two elements of self. And that's the inner alchemy, to transmute from this leaden container into a golden body, one that is aware of its ability to contain a presence.
Okay.
So that presence is what we call the 13th hour. It's that additional to the 12 aspects of the zodiac, the hidden one, the Apophis, that no one talks of. And they don't talk of the 13 and make it a taboo number because they don't want us to understand that this holds a very key resonance, because it's exiting the base 60 system, that 12-hour clock. How do you not just go around and around? You spin me right around. And so
same day,
yeah.
new shit, and a lot of times it's the same day, same shit. It's exactly the way it is.
Yeah.
So the question is, because I found that as well, I was trying to escape the pain that I was suffering, the irritable bowel, the chronic pain and inflammation internally from my own immune system targeting my nervous system and breaking down the myelin sheath. So you know what it's like to bear a bunch of electrical wires and get some wet hands, and well, your inside your body's pretty wet, and when you bear those wires, you arc out all over. So I got a very interesting education on what prana, chi energy is, what the bioelectricity is, because I was short-circuiting all the time, so much so that I couldn't digest food and wasting away. And at that point, it was suggested, because I was insomniac as well, because the pain was so bad, to try these wonderful chemical pharmaceuticals, and they'll help you sleep. As a youngster, I knew intuitionally, this isn't going to help me. The painkillers don't help, so I don't take those. They call it psychosomatic, so you can't sue any company.
Right.
So it was very difficult to get any kind of treatment or anything. And after not wanting to continue, not seeing a reason why I should continue in such pain, there's no quality of life.
Which so many people face,
yes.
and that's the thing. It's like we have to look at that. We have to look at why we're being asked to look to the external all the time, because there's just distraction upon distraction upon distraction to pull us out of the actual truth, which is we are God walking, we are the creator, and that we chose to come here for this time, right?
Yes.
So
yes, thank you. Yep. And that really is the root of my findings, was something was missing. I perceived the world as Robin, but I understood there was more to me. And through some very traumatic nightmares and dreams, and then realizing those are more, I realized, yes, my story is only continuing here. And if my story is continuing, then there's a purpose to this moment. And I had to ask why. And that's when I had some inspirations, and I continued, and I took accountability for everything that happened to me and was going on in my life. It wasn't up to anyone else to figure it out. So that's when I went on the hero's journey. I decided it is my responsibility. And that is what Leigha's referring to, is we have to come to a point in life. Trauma is a great introductory point for this experience, or a big loss, a big shift, hitting rock bottom. So everything you built your foundation on exposed itself to be fraudulent, built of sand, and has crumbled on your descent downward. So that's actually a really good thing, because that was your ego's attachments that you were losing. It wasn't your truth. You were losing all the false aspects you were clinging to. And that's what makes us sick. That's what keeps us upset. That's what keeps us directing our energy outward and expecting it to transmute itself from anger and come back as love. And why isn't it working? Should I get more angry at the world? Give me that love I want. But no one responds with what we're wanting. They're responding with what we're giving them.
So tapping into source, tapping into your higher self will bring you back to understanding why we are coded this way, right? What, you know, and where our DNA originated, and that we came here purposely, especially at this time, right? Like a lot of us fail to see is that we actually called this in. What's happening worldwide right now, we called this in. Okay. And a lot of us aren't taking responsibility for that, because we need to have this opposition to push us into where we're going. A lot of the people are talking about 5D Earth and where this new Earth is going and what we're headed to, but we're actually there right now if we allow that to live within us right now. But we called this in purposely instead of looking at this like, you know, like what's going on out there and you know, and looking at the corruption and really attaching to the anger of it, understanding that we're here for this reason, this purpose, to light our torch and then to light it for those around us. And that's part of this this program that we put together. So we go into more specifics of how to light up your DNA, essentially, how to recode so that we come back to that source.
Okay, so you're saying then that our DNA actually has coding from other than human, a human source, that we're actually carrying human DNA along with, say, spiritual DNA, or am I misunderstanding that?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, our DNA is divine in nature. It is loaded, chock full of codes and permission slips that we have yet to even discover yet, Rob. You know, throughout this existence and throughout the existence that we have chosen, we have essentially, the DNA has been dumbed down. It has been brought down to a point where it has been controllable. It has been manipulated. We see that through Western medicine. We see that through modern practice. We see that through every aspect of our existence. Everything has been brought down to a point where those on the external can control and manipulate it. But now we are coming back throughout I mean, this is not just an ascension journey where we go to a new world and everything's all fa la 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 la. Right. We are essentially, we are learning how to reignite our true inner flame. And with reigniting that true inner flame, we are reigniting our DNA. Our true soul purpose actually lies and is embedded deep within our DNA. And that is what we're reactivating. We're essentially going back to what we were before we were here, because we've been dumbed down so much and we've been controlled so much. We're breaking free of those controls. So we're actually stepping into the full potential of our DNA, the full potential of our soul purpose, and the full potential of our physical bodies. And that is what this, activating your DNA, part one, is essentially about, is essentially lighting that inner flame and getting those codes, those deeply embedded codes to manifest, because we are more than what we perceive ourselves to be, Rob. We are. I mean, you're living proof of that. You're living proof of that. I'm living proof of that. Robin and Leigha are living proof of that. I mean, you went from one thing to the other, and you have grown and expanded, Rob, into your true soul purpose. You are more than what you perceived years ago. We are more than what we perceive. And that is what activating your DNA is. It's going beyond the perception and actually stepping into the reality that you are God walking. You are a co-creator. You are more. You are worthy. You are endless. You are abundant. You are prosperous in all ways, shapes, and forms. And that is what we are activating throughout this time. We are essentially stepping back into that God and goddess role, that true role that we are, that is deeply embedded within our DNA.
Which, and a lot of people, especially far right religious people, they hear what we're saying and they get so offended at it, and like we're trying to make a new God. I'm not making a new God. I'm defining who God is, and I may not accept yours. And if they would just stop and listen, and if you want to get locked only on the Bible, that's cool, but read it, understand it. Don't pull certain verses out, because the Bible in and of itself, it cracks me up once I started really reading it and watching what church did. Like I told you, very passionate, near and dear to my heart. The last time I was in a church, I was standing on the platform leading a congregation of about 500 people. I was the assistant music director, unpaid, whatnot. I was helping while the music director was out. And I was directing the choir, directing the church, running choir practices, things like that. The last time I was on that stage was when they were doing an ordination service for a young man who was becoming a preacher. And I was very excited. And then I heard them say that God doesn't perform these miracles anymore. I never went back. One person came to ask me what happened. The preacher, who I literally had almost grown up with, one phone call. And I'm like, no, I believe you're right. They told us about Reiki in the Bible. I believe a lot of what Christ was doing was Reiki energy healing. And he told us, through my faith, others can be healed. But we never fully grasped it, because man came in and said, that's not right, and was taking control. So therefore, we have been through centuries now. Yeah, you get me started. I'm sorry. That's it, because I do believe our base is coming back to reactivating that we do have this ability. But your lack of faith in yourself or in your God, okay, is hindering you. So therefore you have to blame it on something else. And some of this ripping apart these ideals and this consciousness is painful for people.
Yeah. And
I think that's why we're getting all the anger and stuff. So that actually going into the DNA source that we have God's DNA within us. Okay. Why is that so hard to believe? I don't get it, especially for a Christian, if God breathed life into a pile of clay, okay, his DNA's got to be in there somewhere from the beginning. It may be small because it's been bred out, but at the same point, I think we've just forgotten, and we forget some of the things that we're at. So that's really cool. All right. That's really cool. How do y'all face it when you get to skeptics, when you get to people that are like, no. How do you deal with that?
Well, I happen to be one of the biggest skeptics I've ever met.
Yeah.
And this is coming from someone, excuse me, Leigha and I we dated while we were in Catholic school, and it was
Okay.
it was a more accepting Catholic school. We weren't in uniforms or anything, but we did have a lot of exposure. And me being all about physics and science and understanding the nature of reality and the physics of the body, being an athlete, always trying to maximize my performance, I understood there's electricity in the body and our muscles function on that. And they edit that out in our education.
Yes, they
But
did.
in physics, we learn about electromagnetism. We know electricity goes through our nervous system, but they never talk about a magnetism or another form of energy in our bodies. That is taboo. So that's like editing 6 hours of the clock off and saying, oh, well, that's nighttime. So you don't look at that, throw that away. That's evil. Don't touch it.
Right.
But when you look at those hours, darkness, what makes itself obvious in darkness is light, is electricity, identifies itself when it's in darkness. You light a candle in a sunny day and no one sees it. You light that at night and woo, you will inspire potentially thousands.
Right.
So what are you finding in your darkness, or are you just avoiding it? This is the negative to the positive. There is only duality to be experienced, because duality is the singularity experiencing itself. So we have to admit, in order for it to divide, it has to hold one frequency or another frequency. So what is a frequency? Well, sound wave. Well, what does a sound wave do? Well, it communicates information. Here we go. Source coding, right? If you're into computer programming, I did some computer programming in college because I wanted to do mechanical engineering. But first year I realized, because of the vaccine injury, holy crap, I can't retain information. What holds my memories? Now I started to spiritually, I had a connection and some voices start to come into my head, initiated. There was always a soft one. I thought it was my conscience, but then one came in that was, it wasn't mine, and it had different ideas that were very foreign to me. And this was only after the introduction of those serotonin reuptake inhibitors, antidepressants. And I noticed, wow, I have something accessible, or something has access to me that's never been there before. I never had these thoughts, and I was very conscious individual. So when this thought form came in, I was shocked that I was entertaining these ideas and thoughts and knew they were foreign. So I knew, okay, there's different frequencies we can tune into. And that's precisely what our DNA is
Well, and
an
that's-
antenna array.
That's
Sorry, hon.
exactly it. Like, yeah, go ahead.
So we have a flow of electricity coming downward, and then something else coming upward. What comes up to meet the L, if the L is of positive nature? Well, it's got to be of negative nature, and it just happens to be representative of the feminine. Now let's look at society and how we've treated the feminine. And I'm not talking about only females, I'm talking about men as well. Our ability to feel our emotions, because that's where my empathic and psychic abilities happen. Because your emotions aren't in lineal time, they go beyond. So in activating your 12 strands of DNA, that's the spiral staircase that we descend. So in part one, we speak of getting out of the box of perception. That's the ego, which is only plus and negative. And if plus is light, then light is good. And if negative is darkness, then negative is bad. So it's safe for ego to identify reality with. Everything of negative charge, let's call evil and avoid it, because we only want the light, because in light I feel love, I feel happiness. When I'm in dark, I feel pain and fear. But those are illusory feelings, right? So
Right.
we fear them and we don't expose ourselves to them. But if we do, it will reveal our truths.
And it's
we
where
integrate those truths.
once you find your truth, Rob, I think that's where, like with the skepticism, I think like you just don't really care about other people's judgments. Like we understand it. Like we understand it because we've all been there. Like I can literally look at the person and go, I understand why this is so hard for you. Like the conditioning in the mind and the programming has been, I mean, it's horrendous what we've been through.
Right.
But, you know, we really can't, like, we can't force somebody to heal. They have to decide it for themselves. And that's what we've really come to understand is like when somebody is ready to really truly meet you with their intention and really truly meet you there, you know, they'll invest in our mentorships, they'll invest in our healing sessions. And I mean, the integration is insane over like a week period, let alone a month. But they're ready for that. We're not sitting, like, we're not trying to lure anybody in. It's like, no, they email us, they say, I am ready. And it's like, we start the conversation, and that's where we can do the work. We cannot, I mean, we can inspire, absolutely. And we can get people to question, but truly their judgments are their own business. And we get way too attached and we take things way too personally.
Emotionally attached to the outcome. That's, you know, and many discussions, it's not really you want to discuss something, you want to hear your opinion coming out of somebody else's mouth. And once you start realizing some respect goes with that, okay, I understand, Leigha, I think you put it perfectly. Empathize with them. I know why you're thinking that way. Okay. You've been brainwashed forever. Now, if you say that, you're just causing the problem. But what I'm hearing you say is, so with skeptics, once you receive it, they just have to find this for themselves. You don't sit there and try to reconvince them. You know, I tell people all the time, and I appreciate that, because I get people calls from wives, things like, I woke up, my husband didn't, I woke up, my wife didn't, things like that. Are you going to ditch them? You going to dump them? You know, no, but you've got to live your journey. They have to live their journey, and hopefully those journeys do like the DNA strand. And, you know, it's just important that people understand. I used to say this to people all the time. In the history of calming down, no one has ever calmed down by being told to calm down. You can't scream at people and you're driving them away. We need to show them. We need to walk it and say, okay, it's all right, you know? So thank you for that. I'm glad on that it has become some huge argument, and that you're willing to take this journey when it's not a popular way, you know, it's not a popular way to be seen, you know, or whatnot. My politics, they're not popular because my buddy says I'm a centrist, and he says he's a left-leaning centrist, and I had never heard the term centrist before. I take each topic as it comes. I will take a devout stance on one, but I'm willing to listen and hear. And I think what a lot of people need to do, what you did, Robin, was you are actually started listening, and you listened to understand rather than listening to respond. And if we would do that with each other, we'd come a lot farther, and this would be a lot easier.
Oh, yes. Yes, it certainly would be. But, you know, with every paradigm shift, with every moment of elevation and growth and expansion, there's going to be resistance to that growth and expansion. There's going to be resistance to that shift.
There's always resistance to change.
Yeah, always, especially when it comes to loved ones, friends, and family. They have an attachment to who you were, not who you are. Not who you truly are. And that's why there's the resistance to that. Every single individual fails at who they're supposed to be. They only achieve great success when they fully embrace who they are. Now, obviously, there's going to be resistance to that. But I think over time, Rob, we get used to that resistance. It's basically, it's a given. You know, we have experienced this with our business. We went from, just a simple example, we went from a basic template and format of just sessions that would cost a certain amount, and then there would be a follow-up and then another follow-up, to this incredible growth and expansion of containers, mentorships, and we elevated in our prosperity and abundance, Rob. We were selling ourselves short, but that was okay. We had to sell ourselves short. We had to exist in that format in order to realize what we were truly worth, because we were changing people's lives. Regardless whether they came back or not, we were changing people's lives. And through that process, our lives were being changed. There was massive amounts of timeline collapses. There was paradigm shifts. We came into our own. We came into our true prosperity and abundance. And we stated one day, all three of us, we want it all. And we can have it all. We're worthy of it all. And we are no longer playing small with anything, And with that paradigm shift, there was resistance to that. There was, oh, you guys are profiting off a movement. Oh, you guys are too expensive. Oh, I can't afford this anymore. And we had some people that dropped off. But with that, with standing in our own, with standing in our power, and with truly embracing our worth and who we truly are, so many doors have opened. So many opportunities have fallen in our lap. I mean, here we are today. I mean, the doors to prosperity and abundance have just burst open for us, because we're finally claiming to the universe that regardless of the resistance, we are worth it. We are worth it, and we can have it all. But yes, there are going to be there is going to be resistance. And as we continue to evolve, there will continue to be resistance, but that's all part of the balance. There's supposed to be that resistance. It's a little bit of a test to make sure that, do you truly stand in this?
Well, and then we have,
if there's no resistance, there's no growth.
Exactly.
You know, because then we stay stagnant. So, you know, yeah, that's awesome. Leah, what were you saying?
Well, and then we're actually magnetizing the true clients that are ready for that. That's the thing. Like, when you step up and you truly own this, I mean, like, that's what we are creating. Like, we are seeing not miracles, because it's people saying, I'm ready. I mean, like, like love beyond what they thought, prosperity beyond what they thought, connection beyond what they thought they could have, because being in our energy is forcing them to just jump to that energy. And it's freaking, like, it's like, we know what we do. So it's, when we own that, we allow those doors to open for people that are ready for that. And and that's what, like, we just want to, for every human on this planet to understand their worth, like, understand that they don't have to live their life by the job that's outside of them, by the bank account that says you can't do that. I mean, you are a God walking. You can create anything you want, and your desires are absolutely valid, and you can have it all. You can have it all. And abundance means all of it: health, wealth, happiness, and freedom. Freedom. What does wealth is just, I mean, money is just an energy, but what it creates is freedom for your life. You know, and we've talked about this, like, if when we're, you know, at a point that, you know, we have that kind of freedom to do what we want when we want, we would not stop doing this work, because this is what truly lights us up. This is truly what our heart, like, you know, it's fulfilling us every day. Like, what it's having the messages from our client meetings, and them just like crying on the screen about, like, they could never have reached this point. And it's crazy, like the timeline collapses, as Greg was talking about, the quantum leaps that people are making when they understand their true power. It's beautiful.
And it's because they've opened that door and said, I'm willing. I'm willing to let something greater in. I'm willing to say, I don't know on my own.
Oh, so that goes back to Rob's question about You know, and it's unsolicited advice versus solicited advice. I mean, we've really found that line of like when we have friends asking and they, you know, they just kind of want the Band-Aid versus the person that's like, I want it.
Yeah.
And what they get in exchange is us truly showing up, them showing up, and that's where the magic happens, right? But a lot of people, like, we can't just go around
Right.
Yeah.
you know, spraying our unsolicited advice. They don't want it.
Right.
So don't waste your
Exactly.
energy, you know?
And if they do take it, they won't take it seriously. You know,
Exactly.
they may take it in the moment, but it doesn't stick. We're all about making it stick for the individual, or rather inspiring the individual to make it stick for themselves, because they have to want it for themselves. They have to be willing to allow these new codes, these new light codes, this information to stick. And if they're not willing to make it stick, it just goes in one ear and out the other.
You know, and Greg, you said something there that's very powerful to me. And I keep trying to tell people this when they're trying to help other people break through. You can't help somebody else break through. They have to find that on their own. It's their journey. It's their path. They may have to repeat life again to come back. They may be on their third trip. And guess what? Now they're just seeing different particles of it. And two things I tell people, all right, like one of the shows I don't watch, and you would think I would be all over with doing as much addictions work as I have done, is that show Intervention. All these forced interventions. How many of them at the end of the show is the little thing, well, you know, 3 months later, they had a relapse because they didn't want it. You know, all I can do is tell you, you know, what I tell people is, Greg, you're an addict. I love you. Okay. You're my son. I'd do anything in the world for you, but I'm not going to watch you kill yourself. So if this is the life you want to live, I'm going to open that door so you can walk out my door and go live it. If that's the way you think you need to experience it. But if you ever want all this forced intervention, which is what people are trying to do, we're seeing it in politics. We're seeing it in religion. We are seeing forced intervention, and it doesn't work. It never works. And that's just powerful. And I think Leigha, one of the things you said is about owning it. That I really do. When I work with couples, they're all shocked when they first come in for the first meeting. And my first statement is, I'm not here to save your marriage. And they're like, what? That's why that's on you. I'm not taking that responsibility.
Yeah.
What I'm here is for each of you to be happy. If you can be happy together, great.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're not, but if at the end you go, you know what? We can be friends, but we need to part ways. It's that time to say our journey. A success is success. And I have walked people through divorces and they're still friends. You know, because again, then I work with them and you tell them, Greg, to what you were saying was, you know, it's a Band-Aid. All right. It won't stick. They come in, oh, I want to do help. I want to do help. And then I give them homework next week. The homework's not done. This is your life. This is your wife. She's not worth writing 3 paragraphs in a week. You know, then you don't want it. So, and they don't like it when I tell them that. That's up to you. Okay, bye. See ya. You know, so I see where a lot of this is coming from. I think you guys are on a very, very strong path. I think this is going to be good. I know I'll be taking the course. We'll take a look at this and see, because I want to learn. I noticed that you have 3-part series. So the first course is out there. When will course 2 come online? When will course 3 come online? Do you have any idea yet?
Yes. I think course 2 we will have out by the new year. Or part 2, and part 3 should be coming in the new year, first week to 2 weeks. And the first part is, like we said, getting out of the ego. And this is important because this is how, like in the intervention process, how we trigger someone to cling to their false sense of security even harder, because that's all they have. And it's false because it's what the ego believes. And the ego is merely a placeholder in awareness. until your higher self, your true spirit, like what are we connecting with this DNA, right?
Right.
What is that electricity? Well, that's what we call the spirit. So to become inspired is to breathe in the spirit, to open up and say, it's allowed. God is permissible in my heart because I know I'm worthy. I'm loved by God. I'm here doing my job. Any mistakes I've made, it's up to me to forgive myself and understand why I made them and make a better choice. Not because God's watching me, because the best thing I can do to honor God is to be the best version of me possible. And to be that, I need to make a lot of mistakes so I know what I am. But when I discover what I am, how do I integrate with that God self? That's what all of history is spoken of, all of sacred geometry, the pyramid complex itself, the fire in the middle, pyramid, right? Latin terminology. So we're supposed to light that fire in the middle. It's not supposed to be up here. That's the ego holding the false idea of light. That's Lucifer saying, I can be the God. We just have to eliminate darkness. So everything below your heart chakra is attacked. And all your femininity is labeled weak, vulnerable, when really your vulnerability is your greatest strength. Because in your vulnerability, you find your true root, your true security. What
and not
you
understanding
really believe is what grounds you into a human being. And that isn't your safety of your body. It's more than that. That's just a response, that reptilian brain of ours to keep our body safe until the moment we can let our true awareness be present. So part 2 will encompass preparing your garden.
seeding the spirit.
Yes. Yeah. Seeding the spirit. Yeah.
All right.
And then part 3 will be integrating the ego's perspective, loving your shadow. So the series is called Becoming Your Highest Self. And that's essentially when we are actually arrive at 0 point in the present moment. I mean, all timelines converge, right? And that's where that power is. So aligning to your most altruistic timeline with like for everything that you're here to actually create for yourself on the highest level, this is the work. This is the true work. There's nothing external that's going to do this for you ever. And that's what we're here to say, is just like you taking your power back is what ignites our flame even more. We love doing this work and seeing people do this for themselves. It's glorious. It's wonderful to watch. It's wonderful to witness. And so this is a 3-part series that we're just really, 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 really excited to share.
Awesome. All right. So folks, please check this course out. You'll see the links below. You'll see the links running across the screen. Make sure you go check it out, read up on it, see what's going on. These folks are doing everything from their heart, but they're like me. They got to live too. So, go check them out, support them. If you want to support like-minded people, it's an equal exchange of energy. It can't all just be take. Go give a little bit. Okay. Give the course to somebody you think that might needs it. You want to do something for somebody, give it as a gift. We're in that time of year. Go give it. Anything y'all want to say before we pack this up and everybody starts getting ready for Christmas?
Well, we just want to thank you, Rob, for having us on here today. It's been an absolute joy and an absolute pleasure. A very Merry Christmas to you and yours, and a happy and blessed and prosperous New Year to you and yours. Thank you to the audience for joining us here today. We look forward to seeing you and look forward to working with you in the future. And again, Rob, thank you so much for having us here today. It's been an absolute blast and a joy. Thank you.
You are quite welcome. It's been my pleasure. And I like what you said. 2022 is the year of the breakthrough. I told everybody in 2020, I don't know why I thought it was going to be such a great year. We were building a new platform. 2021, it was going to be hectic chaos or whatnot. Nobody wanted to believe it. They just want to believe it. 2022.
Yeah.
Don't drag this crap into that year with you. Okay. So you're quite welcome. Thank you guys for being a part of the show. Bangarang. love to see you on. Love to have you guys back on. I want to get you on a live show as well. Okay. And one of the things I always tell my viewers, y'all know what I'm going to say. Take what you want, leave what you don't, but leave having experienced some peace, love, and light. Bangarang!